Hello ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to react to the Hall of Legends Uzi trailer. Uzi has been now officially announced by Riot as the next inductee to the Hall of Legends. In my opinion, of course, the conversation about Hall of Legends and who should be in it, I do think popularity and overall, let's say, the impact, the cultural impact within League of Legends in particular, I think are the main metrics that Riot is going by, which I think is perfectly fair and square. I hope that other metrics will be considered in the future for players that have won a lot, that are significant in the game, that might not be as popular. But Uzi going into the Hall of Legends, I think makes a lot of sense because obviously, while LPL AD carries are very, very famous nowadays, for the level of competitiveness and the level of aggression, everything kind of stemmed from Uzi. He was the one who inspired a long line of ADCs, and he was the main point of inspiration to any ADC that you can think of that are even active to this day. So his impact is, of course, very, very well known. We're going to take a look at this video here, Hall of Legends Uzi, and then I wanted to break down why Kai'Sa was his second skin. A lot of people are associating, Kai'Sa with Gala, Kai'Sa with other players and so forth, but Uzi won his first international tournament playing Kai'Sa back in 2018, and I wanted to break down a very, very legendary moment in game, but we'll get to that as soon as we watch this trailer together. Let's have a look.
传奇该如何铸就？
Uzi. He was really young and really prodigious.
AD carries known for being like greedy, very selfish.
The game was about him at all times.
This is the best AD carry in the game.
Incredibly mechanically gifted.
He's going for every trade. He's fighting for every farm. He's playing like a psycho. Whoa, that's dude.
我特别喜欢虐别人的感觉，他打法像疯狗一样。
Uzi is a walking god.
David.
보고 캐리가 이런 거구나라는.
Everyone loves a wonder kid.
这肯定是
For those who don't know, Tabe was a support back in his Worlds run back in 2022. And then Tabe promptly retired and then came back and coached, whatever. But Tabe was actually, his support. And it's cool that they have Doublelift and Reckless in this video because they actually had, matches against, Uzi. Uzi, definitely the main thing that defined him was the fact that he really, really changed people's view of what ADC could do. Usually ADCs played like turrets, but he played like the main aggressor, The details of how you saw, let's say, like a player like Elk dash forward with Lucian or play with Gale Force on the Aphelios or Ruler on Zeri. It's like Uzi did this ahead of anybody else in his olden days.
会有一个利弊的一个衡量的。
Only person to reach 2 finals and have 2 losses to his name.
Uzi is denied another title.
太多次觉得可以的事情都没有做到，
People wanted to see him lift a trophy.
就觉得自己还可以赢一切的对手，我都不会怕。
他们会在他登场的那个瞬间，就是
他的这些经历、这些故事，到今天依然能打动你。
He made people see that there is more to it than just doing what's expected of you.
The crownless king now leads the world.
Now, something that is cool, in regards to Reckless's history with Uzi, Uzi was his boogeyman. He was his boogeyman for the longest time. Even 2018, there was a big relief from the Fnatic camp when they didn't need to face RNG, and RNG actually, was defeated by G2 because RNG, I remember hearing in scrims against Fnatic in particular 2018, they couldn't play bot lane at all. It went to the point where they experimented with lane swaps and they tried everything to try to get them away from that matchup, which is a crazy thing to think about. Obviously, in the year after that, back in 2019, Fnatic managed to beat RNG in the group stage when they were in the same group as Clutch Gaming, T1, and of course RNG in that legendary game where Hilly picked Pyke and they had Zaya and Gragas and Gangplank, and RNG couldn't piece together a draft. And that was the big moment where finally you had, of course, Fnatic conquering their demons. And they played, of course, the quarterfinals against FPX, where they took one game off of them. Fnatic did, and that's something that G2 couldn't do later on in the final. Just a piece of information that is fun how, you know, all the stories are intertwined and connected. You know, for the longest time, Uzi as a player, he didn't win any trophies. He didn't win any trophies. 2018 was a significant year because that was the first time he won a regional split, and that, of course, qualified them into MSI. And MSI, this was still the format where there were basically, you know, just one team from each major region and so forth. At this one in particular, we had Fnatic, Kingzone, Kingzone Dragon X with Peanut, and RNG in the final against Kingzone. RNG up 2-1 in this one. Just to loop you back in on what the meta was like, Khan always played his carries. Something that stood out, you know, in terms of how the metagame was played was this particular item, which was Banner of Command. Banner of Command was a very, very silly one because basically this item strengthened a minion, and this item just got removed because it just completely warped how people would play the game. This would make a cannon minion pretty much unkillable. Promoted minions received 70% reduced damage from champions. They took, dealt more damage to turrets. They just got tankier, did more damage, and they pretty much just warped the whole game in terms of what you drafted and what you did. A solution that people did was they dropped a minion dematerializer. I don't know how to spell it, I'm sure. So basically people went minion dematerializer, and at the time you had 6 of them, so you just kept them in your inventory until the enemy finished Banner of Command. And that's something that you're going to notice in this particular game. In regards to how the macro was played, it was very easy to get information at the time. The early game wasn't super busy. You had, of course, Uzi on the Kaiser. The main thing I wanted to highlight that, the Kaiser champion for him as well is quite legendary. And the RNG rosters with Lepmi, Kaza, Xiaohu, and then Uzi. They have the Janna answer into Rakan. You have Prey and Gorilla, PDD and Peanut and Khan. Also massive legendary roster. The majority of this game is quite calm. There wasn't anything controversial happening in it. RNG managed to kind of get ahead. They stayed intact in the game. Another thing that I can highlight is that there was no soul at this point in time. You stacked drakes and they gave you stats, and then depending on how many drakes, Elder Dragon became more powerful when it spawned. And the Elder Dragon was gated by time. So by the time you got Elder Dragon, the more elemental dragons you had, the more damage the debuff that you applied would do. So we just followed this up. We see the Banner Command on Vel'Koz. I think that this is a game where Ilaoi is also going to get a Banner of Command. And this was RNG always. It was always playing through Uzi. And then, of course, putting Let Me in a situation where he plays tanks. And then Kaza did a fantastic job, of course, playing through bottom side. And Uzi was always demonic in terms of how they managed farm distribution. He was the AD carry to always collect the wolves and the chickens and so forth. I'm just going to fast forward a little bit because at some point in time there's going to be a pause. And I feel like this pause, this pause was significant because it did seem like RNG kind of lost momentum off the back of this one. So there was a pause. It happened in the game. And then here we go. We're going to just move forward from the pause.
I was talking about if King is not look down to the lane, but let me even after the flash, after let me turn.
Kingzone were always kind of playing this 4-1 type of thing, where Khan was just on side perma, and RNG got kind of broken down by this because Let Me was playing the tanks. And even though they killed Khan, Kingzone always managed to gain position and they were first into scenarios because of it. Find the fight I'm looking for. Here it is.
Well, this helps if flank into a flash ult combo, but that is pretty hard to set up.
So Kingzone Indoor 4 always did this thing where they contested vision super hard, Illaoi pressed on really hard, and then they snapped on objectives, as you can see in the Drake count. Now the Nashor start. This is Giga Paper. Khan is marking. Gorilla gets a knock up on everybody. And Khan, with League of Stopwatch, has his own stopwatch here on Illaoi. It is crazy how much the game has changed, because take a look at how OP Rakan is. Like, in terms of how fast he can snap, it's like the speed of his R/W is absolutely nutty. Because obviously this champion has been nerfed so many times. And here Gorilla just gets a charm on 5, and the turn is absolutely beautiful. And it seems like Kingzone is just going to win this game, equalize it, and take them, of course, to a game 5. And this moment was highlighted in a video, Eyes on MSI, which I think is, if you haven't seen this, it's really worthy to bring up. I'm just gonna let you guys play it.
3 to 4 massive AoE abilities that destroys them. He needs to play teamfights perfectly.
你们尽量打团一起往前冲一点，不然他们后排伤害太高了。我直接冲他们后排了要。干嘛？对，我要直接冲他们后排，不然我们赢不了团了。
So Uzi recognizes, as he mentioned in the comms there, that he needs to play the teamfight in a very particular fashion. They set up the cast flank, and Uzi recognizes that he can't play front to back against Vel'Koz and also Xayah. He needs to commit to the fight and find angles to, of course, assassinate. This is where it starts.
Inside the Baron pit. Superman is on the fight. Look at the fight. That's already a kill. Killer instinct flashes into the pit. How is he still alive? Uzi is doing it. Uzi keeps RNG alive.
Now, the crucial detail in that fight will come up next, which I think is the coolest aspect of this moment here. He said, they don't have QSS, it's up in 10 seconds. And the follow-up is they flash onto Xayah, and in the exact window, if you take a look at the cooldown right there, the cooldown of course, the Xayah QSS, the snap onto, of course, Prey. He doesn't get to ult. Zhao, who finds the angle. And Kingzone get cooked. And many thought at the time that, you know, it's like in the conversation of RNG's and Uzi's career, that this was, you know, the first of many. The biggest pain point, I think, for RNG, especially moving into that World Championship where they lost to G2, as I mentioned before, you know, the biggest, you know, surprise coming into that tournament, RNG was the favorite to win it all. They won LPL Spring, they won MSI, and they won LPL Summer, beating IG, who then in turn became the world champion. But the biggest pain for anyone that wants to play through themselves and have the team built around themselves, when the meta shifts, your whole world shifts. And I think this was the biggest pain point for Uzi, especially in this year, because in the end, solo lanes were king. And I had the privilege of course, playing and preparing against RNG at this particular World Championship. I've always ran into RNG. I've been in the same group as RNG at 3 separate World Championship. 2016 when Uzi was laning with Mata. 2018 here when he laned with Ming. And then later in 2021 where Gala and Ming, you know, Gala already replacing Uzi on the team, where Jahu played top lane. But I remember back in 2018, you know, in particular, our whole plan was to just send everything possible to break Uzi. And I will just show you guys that game in particular because it is quite funny to me that in the end, you know, this was our matchup against Uzi, and our whole plan was to try to break him. We were fortunate that we got Draven, and I just want to show you guys how many times we tried to kill him. So first and foremost, we had Draven and Thresh into Kai'Sa, which of course is a full-on lane-centric idea. Here, Kikis is also looking for the level 2 gank. I don't know if he got spotted, but we looked for the level 2 gank, didn't land it because of the ward. We create a split map situation where Cabochard takes all of these camps here so Lee Sin doesn't get ahead. Of course, this is in essence the plan to make sure that our jungler is on bottom side and we can fight. This was a meta where Crab was just so incredibly broken and it got you so much XP at the time. We set up the situation where we looked for a dive, we couldn't find the angle, they held the lane and they played the lane good. In the end, we commit to the play here with Kikis. The enemy snap TP to defend with Lissandra. Jackroll dies and Uzi somehow lands his magical W to kill us. Now Ryze is going to have full prio, Zinza still into bottom side. We're going to look for another ganking player here to deny Uzi and to attack Ming. Jizuke roaming, Zinzao ganking for the 4th time in the game already. Nothing is working. Uzi has been ganked a million times. They tried to stop him 52 times and somehow we just can't crack him. We can't find an in at all. And in the end here, we recognize, oh, enemy's top lane. He's kind of giving us free food. We have our Draven stacks. We kind of need to find a way to break the game. Sion, after that gank that Zinzao set up, we sent Sion into base to then go into bottom side to ult again. And then here Sion's on a timer, so he begins to ult. And here we are 5-manning bot trying to break Uzi once again. And they're walking away from the turret because all of this has already been done to them. We tried to push them out. We make Uzi lose CS, but they're just so aware. Uzi just refused to die. He just refused to die. And after that, on the retake, they managed to kill our Thresh once again. And then they pushed us out and they punished us, of course. And Uzi gets to push out. In the end, we tried to find some more traction in the game. And we're going to end up in a situation where we swap into topside, which kind of saved our whole game because Draven was just walking around with these stacks and RNG were beginning to win the trades on bottom side somehow, even with Kai'Sa and Gragas into our Draven and Thresh. So finally here, there's going to be a situation where we cross into Rift Herald. Lebmi is going to ult the wave, but here Jackroll lanterns the Draven in, and here's a big fat cash out from Attila. So the irony of this whole situation is that we tried to kill Uzi for so long to get the cash out and to get our Draven ahead, and it's his top laner that grants us the big cash out that we finally looked for. And in terms of what we looked for in teamfights too, it was the same exact angle and idea. We tried everything in our power to try to pressure Uzi in the fights, and this moment in particular was a very big one, because in the end here, of course, our Sion, I think probably the only Sion in the world that actually managed to Sion ult Uzi. He found the angle here, the drift from Cabo, and he gets the full damage onto Uzi. But Uzi was unkillable. In the end, Jizuke tries to go for him and he thinks that the corruption potion is finally gonna kill him. And somehow he lives, which was very unfortunate. Jizuke could maybe squeeze one more auto. And in the end, I can fast forward to the game-winning sequence for us. It was a moment in time here. Let me show you guys. I think it's this one. We did a good job of pressuring Nashor with our composition, forcing the enemy to face check into us and finding the turns and the angles. The hook from Thresh lands, which is absolutely just amazing.
Vitality's on fire. Karsa's taking damage from Cabochard as he flashes forward. The Soul Furnace takes him down, and they are going to be able to push only.
And then I just want you to show you guys the final fight. This sequence right here is absolutely mental. This hook, look at this hook from Jackroll to predict Kai'Sa. Jizuke flashes over the wall, and then Jackroll with another hook here over the Sion Q, gets it on Lissandra.
clinic right now. Ming tries to get the body slam back in, but he puts himself into a bad spot. He gets locked down. A double kill.
And then I think this picture is, you know, the story of Uzi's career in many moments. As the game ends now, and we pressure, and we wrap it up, Uzi ends the game without dying a single time.
And that's how you play League of Legends in Europe. You pick a Draven against Uzi, you fail the early game, but it doesn't matter because you find so many good team fights, and they never stop.
This brings me back.
This team is fun to watch.
No fist bumps back then. This was pre-COVID, guys. This was pre-COVID.
They are not afraid to make mistakes. It's about how they get up after the mistakes and then make the big play.
Early.
Officio, the other day you said, man, I really wish teams would play like they do in scrims on stage. I think you got it.
Honestly, Jack Troll was...
That, bro, you have no idea how proud I was in this moment, bro. This is my proud face. This is my proud face. But that's it. I just wanted to bring some context back to the Kaiser and speak a little bit more on Uzi's career. I think, you know, in terms of what the Hall of Legends is without the cash grab, you know, I think Uzi, you know, definitely deserves recognition because I'm happy that the discourse around Uzi is definitely not like, oh, he didn't win trophies. That's it. Like, there's many moments where there were 80 carries that were better than him at certain times, you know. But I think in terms of influence, it's massive, you know. Like points in career where like Deft was better, you know. There were points in his career where, of course, you know, like let's say Name was better. There were players that were better, but I don't think that matters, you know, in the context of impact. Because Uzi, definitely one of the most impactful players of all time in terms of, you know, how, you know, the role of ADC shaped around him. So thank you very much for watching. It would be me with nostalgia. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.